You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Monday, 27th day of October, 2025. Thanks for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. We do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. The first broadcast is private. That's our live training room. To get in there, you got to be a member or taking your 1-week free trial. If you've not yet taken your 1-week free trial, when Michael joins us in about an hour, he'll walk you through step by step how to take the trial. We'll get your indicators up and indicating today. Your trial will officially start tomorrow, and it'll run all the way through next Monday. The weekends don't count against you. There is no credit card required. And what we do during your trial is we treat you just like you were already a member. We give you access to everything that you see here for 5 consecutive trading days, so that at the end of the trial, you can make a well-informed, intelligent decision as to whether or not trading is right for you. Now, when the live training room ends at 11:30 a.m. Eastern each day, we take a 30-minute break and come back for this broadcast, the noon broadcast, which is open to the public. Everybody, everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. There's 2 different ways you can join this afternoon broadcast live. The best way, just go to mytradingiq.com. Scroll down the page to where it says noon broadcast. Click the link, fill out the 30-second registration form, and you're done. Going forward, what will happen is every trading day, you'll get an email about an hour before this broadcast starts. In the email, there's a link. So at 12 noon Eastern, all you do is click the link in the email, and it automatically logs you into our platform. The benefit there is you'll have access to the question box, so you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. Of course, there'll be days you're out of the office, away from the desktop, but you still want to join live. And some days you'll be busy, so you can't join live, but you want to get caught up later. You can do both of those via our YouTube channel, which is easy to remember. youtube.com/CFRN. That's the Christian Financial Radio Network since 2005. But all you have to remember is youtube.com/CFRN. Not only do we broadcast live every trading day on our YouTube channel, as we're doing right now, simulcasting, we also archive each and every daily broadcast. Currently, there's over 2,900 daily episodes archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. youtube.com/CFRN. On the left side of the screen, you'll see our schedule for each afternoon broadcast. Michael will join us at the top of the hour for a recap of what happened this morning in the live training room. But for now, we're going to dive right in to our daily devotional, which is where we start each and every day. Now, the topic that we're on for a few weeks, learning to share your faith. We're in day 3. We'll be in this topic for a while because it's so important. Today's scripture is Colossians 4, verses 5 through 6, and I'll share it with you from the Message translation. Use your heads as you live and work among outsiders. Don't miss a trick. Make the most of every opportunity. Be gracious in your speech. The goal is to bring out the best in others in a conversation, not put them down, not cut them out. Again, that was Colossians 4, verses 5 through 6 from the Message translation. So today's topic, exploring outside. Spiritual outsiders are those who have not entered into salvation through Jesus, the true gate to life. John 10:9. Some outsiders are spiritually near, others will be far away. Some may be religious, others may be irreverent. Some live good lifestyles, others bad. But all who haven't entered through Christ are outsiders. Paul instructs us to be wise, making the most of every opportunity with outsiders. Though each situation is different, we begin by starting where they are, which requires us to explore. To make the most of a situation, use questions to discern if a person is open to talk and to discover insights into their spiritual journey. With wisdom and genuine care, you will likely get to know the person better, deepen the relationship, and have an opportunity to talk about Jesus. The best way to discover where a person is spiritually is to just ask. Then, let's take a step. Brainstorm a list of outsiders you know or could get to know. List individuals by name and include groups such as classmates, co-workers, neighbors. Look over the list. How well do you know the spiritual journey of your acquaintances? I encourage you over the course of this next few weeks that we're in this topic, explore as many as possible. Let's pray. Lord, help us to walk in wisdom for those around us, making the most of every opportunity you give us. Let our words be filled with grace and seasoned with truth, so that we may point others to Christ in all that we say and do. It's in Jesus' name we believe and pray. And everybody said, Amen. Amen. And happy Monday. Here I am back in the saddle after a couple of days off. Had a good time. Those of you that follow the Breeze channel, you saw some pictures of the little journey, some of the places we went and some of the things we did. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. We'll start here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. Markets are about as weird right now as I think I've ever seen them. We had this huge gap up last night on the indices, and then nothing. You'll see it when we go to the chart. Currently, the Dow's up 252 points. Now, again, this all has to do with the gap higher open last night. The NASDAQ's up 374 points. That's over 1.5%. S&P 500 is up 66 points, almost 1%. But the Russell 2000, not so excited about it. It's only up 6 points, almost 7. So, yes, they're all green, and we like that. But again, when you see the charts, and I explain it to you, you're going to go away from today's broadcast scratching your head with both hands. Crude oil's up 13 cents, trading 61.63 last. Gold is down $134.30, trading 4,350 last. That's a drop of 3.25%. Silver down $2.08, trading 46.50 last. That's a drop of over 4.25%. In the Asian markets at the close, Nikkei posted a gain of 1,212 points, 2.5%. Shanghai rose 46, almost 1.25%. The Hang Seng gained 273 points, a little over 1%. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE down 11, the DAX up 24, the CAC up 6. So we had a green day in Asia. It was a mixed day for the UK. And it's a green Radio Monday here in the US of A. But if there was ever an opportunity for a turnaround Tuesday, I gotta believe the table is certainly set for that. And again, when we get to the charts, you'll see what I'm talking about. And we have the Fed announcement on Wednesday. Now, everybody is expecting a rate cut. I mean, it's last night's gap higher open shows just how baked into the cake it is. Do we go flat until the announcement on Wednesday? Maybe. And the fact that it's baked into the cake already tells me that when the dust settles from the Fed announcement, we're probably going to see prices substantially lower than where they are now, which may give some strength to the metals. Lord knows they could use it. All right, so that's the numbers from around the world. Let's take a look at the news. French police made the first arrest linked to a daring heist at the Paris Louvre over the weekend, 1 week after thieves made off with roughly $100 million in jewels from the world's most visited museum. Officials said 2 suspects were detained. At least 4 were directly involved, including 1 preparing to depart for Algeria. None of the jewelry has been recovered. The low-tech burglary took place October 19th when the group used a furniture lift and power tools to break in through a first-floor window in broad daylight. Among the artifacts taken were 8 pieces of the French crown jewels, an exhibit of royal pieces dating from the 9th to 19th centuries, including a tiara belonging to Napoleon III's wife, Eugenie. A bejeweled crown was also snagged but dropped in the getaway. It's just kind of like the Keystone Cops, but I guess this would be the Keystone Robbers. Experts say the recovery rate is under 10%, with jewelry either melted down and resold or purchased by discreet, high-priced buyers. Now, the gems in this collection, and in particular the diamonds, because they're so old, they don't have serial numbers engraved into them. You buy a diamond today, you cannot see it with the naked eye, but there's a serial number engraved with a laser on that diamond, if it's big enough to be of any value, which makes stolen jewelry today a little bit easier to track and trace, or diamonds anyway. I don't know if they do the laser engraving on other rare gems, but they certainly do on diamonds. Again, the recovery rate in this type of a heist is under 10%. President Trump landed in Malaysia yesterday for a nearly week-long Asia trip that will culminate in a meeting with Chinese leader Xi. Trump kicked off the week by attending a peace deal signing between Cambodia and Thailand, a deal Cambodia credits Trump with helping to broker. Trump then announced separate trade deals with Malaysia, Cambodia, Thailand, and Vietnam that will see them purchase dozens of U.S.-made planes for over $25 billion, as well as invest in the U.S. agricultural and energy sectors. Malaysia and Thailand also agreed to supply the U.S. with access to critical minerals and rare earth minerals. Trump heads next to Japan to meet with the country's first female prime minister. He will then attend the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Conference in South Korea, where he will meet with Xi to discuss a framework trade agreement to avert the 100% tariffs that are set to go into effect November 1st. It's pretty close. Now, I know we have some ladies in the audience, so let me share this with you. The Food and Drug Administration approved a new drug to treat women during menopause. They approved it on Friday. Actually, this applies to some men too. If your wife is going through menopause, you know that there's some issues. The drug is called elinzanetant. I give up. Produced under the brand name Lincoot. It's one of the few non-hormonal treatments for symptoms including night sweats and hot flashes. Men, how many times has your wife awoken you in the middle of the night and said, "Is it hot in here to you?" And you're like, "No, but she's sweating." Roughly 80% of women experience vasomotor symptoms, which can last for an average of 7 to 10 years. As estrogen levels decrease during menopause, nerves in the hypothalamus region of the brain, which regulate body temperature, become hyperactive. Hormonal treatments typically involve a combination of estrogen and progesterone. This drug is the first non-hormonal option targeting 2 brain receptors involved in regulating temperature. In a phase 3 clinical trial, 73% of women experienced reduced symptoms compared to 47% using a placebo. Now, this new wonder drug is marketed by none other than Bayer. Bayer's once-a-day pill will be publicly available next month. A 30-day supply costs $625, though insurance could lower the monthly cost to as little as $25 per month. Wow. What else are you going to say? Wow. And as the company announced, it's diving into the data center for the launch of its new AI 200 and AI 250 chips and rack-scale server offerings. The move puts Qualcomm into direct competition with the likes of NVIDIA and AMD, as the company seeks to stake its claim to a portion of the multi-billion-dollar data center market. AMD, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google, all the players in that field are up today. Not a lot, but they're up. Available beginning in 2026, the AI 200 is both the name of Qualcomm's individual AI accelerator and the full server rack it slots into, complete with a Qualcomm CPU. The AI 250 is Qualcomm's next generation AI accelerator and server coming in 2027. A third chip and server are scheduled for 2028. And Qualcomm is up today, $20 a share, right at 12%. Go Qualcomm. Once again, Tesla chair Robin Denholm pleaded with shareholders to approve CEO Elon Musk's unprecedented compensation package, one that could cost the company $1 trillion, with the threat of Musk leaving the company. How long do you think it would take Tesla to fold and close its doors if Elon left? In a letter sent to shareholders this morning, which follows a prior letter sent last week, Denholm warned the company stands to lose Musk's leadership if shareholders do not approve the plan. The proposed package, revealed in early September, would grant Musk 12 massive tranches of stock options tied to targets the board argues are aggressive. If we fail to foster an environment that motivates Elon to achieve great things through an equitable pay-for-performance plan, we run the risk that he gives up his executive position, and Tesla may lose his time, talent, and vision, which have been essential to delivering extraordinary shareholder returns. People don't invest money in Tesla. Electric car companies are a dime a dozen today. When people buy shares of Tesla, they're investing in Elon Musk. Denholm claimed Tesla could lose significant value if Musk left. You better believe it, as his leadership is needed to shepherd the company through its automotive, robotics, energy storage, and autonomous driving business. Oddly, Tesla's up 5% on this news, or $22.41 a share at the moment. A $1 trillion pay package. But again, it's merit-based. In other words, company has to hit certain benchmarks in order for him to get that money. So, hey, if you earn it, you earn it. Which, we all know that there was a mystery man who donated money to see that our military got some money on payday. That mystery man was not Elon Musk. The mystery man was one of the Melon family. And that was certainly very nice of him, very patriotic of him. Now, what happens on the next payday? Elon could fund our military for a year and not really lose any sleep. Unfortunately, he and Trump are on the outs. I don't know, maybe you know, it looked like at that one event where Elon came and sat beside him for a minute that maybe they're trying to patch things up. I don't know. But when you're the richest man in the world and people are going hungry, and the country that you call home afford to pay the military that protects said country, wow, it'd be kind of hard to sleep with myself. Yeah. Across the board this morning, U.S. stocks climbed. Again, just wait till you see the gap. Climbed on Monday amid promising signs that a U.S.-China trade deal will cap President Trump's long-awaited meeting with the Chinese president later this week. Federal Reserve convenes its policy meeting this week as the government shutdown verges on nearly a month, leaving central bankers without most official data to make a decision on setting interest rates. What a great excuse not to lower rates. Oh, we don't have the data. Even so, officials and the betting markets say the Fed will trim their benchmark interest rate by a 0.25 percentage point for the second time this year. Based on the data they do have, interest rates should be 2 points lower this year. But they're a 0.25 point. And if we're really good little boys and girls, maybe we'll get another 0.25 point on Wednesday. According to the Kansas City Federal Reserve President, Esther George, in the absence of the official data for jobs, they're going to lean on other sources of information, which at this point aren't really going to contradict what they have argued as their reason for cutting. But officials have been flying blind as the government shutdown, which began October 1st, precluded the release of the jobs report for September, arguably the most important data needed to decide the future path of monetary policy. Meanwhile, private sector data and anecdotal surveys suggest the job market has deteriorated. Payroll processor ADP reported that private payroll employment fell by 32,000 in September, while the Fed's Beige Book, a compilation of anecdotal evidence from across the country, also painted a weaker picture of the job market. Well, we'll find out Wednesday. Their meeting, it's a 2-day meeting. It begins tomorrow. We'll get the announcement Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So there'll be some volatility there. And then at 2:30, Jerome Powell will step up to the podium, deliver a prepared speech, and then take questions from the audience, which will obviously be all about the future of future rate cuts. And that's when you should expect the real volatility. From Bloomberg has advanced towards a record as optimism over an imminent U.S.-China trade deal added steam to a rally driven by a slew of disruptions at some of the world's biggest mines. Signs of the world's top 2 economies are set to reach an accord this week, improve the outlook for consumption of the industrial metal at a time of heightened concerns over production setbacks from South America to Indonesia. Gold, back below 4,000 an ounce, extending losses from the worst rout in over a decade as progress on a U.S.-China trade deal sapped safe haven demand. Despite gold fell as much as 3.2% below $3,990 an ounce, following last week's abrupt halt to rapid advances on concerns the record-breaking rally had run too far. Chinese and U.S. trade negotiators have lined up an array of diplomatic wins for President Trump and counterpart Xi to unveil at a summit this week. A trade agreement between the world's two biggest economies may ease some of the economic risk and geopolitical tensions that have bolstered precious metal. Oil swung between gains and losses on the back of the biggest weekly increase since June as traders weighed progress between the U.S. and China on trade and the wider outlook for supply. Well, as you know, early voting's underway in New York City, New Jersey. New Jersey's largest teachers union, which has endorsed Democrat governor candidate Mickey Sherrill, will host a drag queen event days after the November election. That's her plan. You remember how Trump had his plan of, here's what I'm going to do on day one, here's what I'm going to do on day two. So if she wins, one of the first things she wants to do is host a drag queen event. The New Jersey Education Association, which has 200,000 members, as the Garden State's chapter of the National Education Association, will host its annual convention on November 6th and 7th, 2 days after the gubernatorial election. At the convention, the NJEA Consortium, a union project undertaken with education and social justice organizations, will host a Friday event called Drag is Not a Crime: The Past, Present, and Future of Drag. The convention's floor plan also includes a booth dedicated to the drag theme. The NJEA convention theme puts learning third after equity and justice. And you wonder why your kid or grandkid can't read. Now, there's a whole conspiracy here, and you really should do some research into it, because these are your tax dollars. Okay? Kids are not being taught how to read the way you and I were taught how to read. We were taught to sound out. First you learn the alphabet, and then you sound out the words. But there's a company that publishes educational materials, and they're in cahoots with the teachers' union. No longer are children taught to sound out words to learn how to read. They're taught to guess. In other words, up on the blackboard, you've got a sentence, but one of the words, like maybe the hard word, it's covered with a Post-it note. And the kids are encouraged to guess what that word should be based on the context of the sentence. Well, I don't want my child to learn how to guess. I think he or she's born with that ability. I want them to be taught how to read. Remember when we were kids, the commercials on TV on Saturday mornings, during the cartoons, reading is fundamental? I mean, if you can't read, you can't do anything. This is the dumbing of America. These leftist organizations, these teachers, and this book publisher, they don't want our children to learn how to read, because then they might grow up and run the world. See, only the chosen ones should learn how to read, do math, and have a decent education. This is intentional. And they're celebrating it with a drag dance. Let me ask you, how many drag queens do you know? Yeah, I know, exactly, right? And so, why are we allowing such a tiny minority of Americans hold such incredible sway over the majority of the Americans who don't want anything to do with this? Is somebody hanging something over somebody's head somewhere? Or some group of people? Is there blackmail going on? There has to be an explanation why the teachers' union would intentionally choose not to teach our children how to read. They come for your guns, they come for your education. And Mandani, he's coming for your house. Yeah. I don't know who these people are in New York City. I guess they figure once he's elected, they'll have time to sell and, get moved to Florida before any of his idiotic policies start to take effect. But who's going to buy that $14 million penthouse view from you when they know Mandami is just going to come in and take it by eminent domain, so the homeless have a place to live with a view? AI and advancing technologies are on the rise. No new news there. However, the type of technology we are seeing and the capabilities it has are ever new. Large language models like ChatGPT, Grok, and DeepSeek are replacing the need for search engines and making life more manageable for countless people around the globe. From aid with email responses to writing cover letters for resumes to one-on-one tutors and brainstorming assistants, these tools are revolutionizing the human experience for many. Increased technological power ought to cause the human person to reflect on life in a different way. The rise and influence of AI is causing many to consider deeper philosophical questions. What does it mean to be human? If a machine has more knowledge than I do, is it better than me? What jobs will AI replace? What is the purpose of education if machines can relay any fact we need and accomplish any intellectual task much quicker than human beings? Telling you there's some podcasts out there. I keep recommending them to you guys. I don't know if you're listening to them or not. One's called The Last Invention. That's got about 10 episodes. You need to listen to them all. And I've posted it multiple times in the Breeze channel. The link to that podcast and also the Tucker Carlson interview with a pretty smart guy from Silicon Valley. It says, ChatGPT is not artificial intelligence. It's a window. It's a portal into something that's always been there. These things that I just mentioned, like ChatGPT, Grok, and DeepSeek, these are simply hosts for a spirit that's been there all along. And a lot of the big names in Silicon Valley are getting, quite frankly, a little bit afraid. Now, some of them were warning us about the dangers of AI years ago, but yet they still went ahead and developed the technology because, hey, we got to get to the moon before China, right? Well, it's pretty scary, and I advise you You really need to take this seriously and start having a closer look at it. And last, the country's largest union representing federal workers is calling on Congress to pass a short-term funding bill immediately to end the government shutdown. In a statement on their website, the American Federation of Government Employees called the shutdown an avoidable crisis that is harming American families and workers across the country, and condemned both Democrats and Republicans. Both political parties have made their point, and there is still no clear end in sight. It's time to pass a clean, continuing resolution and end this shutdown today. No half measures and no gamesmanship. The Republicans presented a clean bill, a clean, continuing resolution. All the Democrats have to do is sign it. Schumer will own this shutdown till the day he dies. In fact, it's going to make the midterms really interesting. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at Logic 247. Because nothing much happened overnight, well, there's not a whole lot to look at. We'll look at it anyway. We're currently in week 378. Over the last 378 weeks, we've issued over 20,800 individual handcrafted alerts. And what we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based on simple market structure and a simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Valerie did the recap this morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern. Last week, we ended the week with 14% stopped out. Since this new week started last night at 6 p.m. Eastern, we issued a total of 18 alerts. When Valerie did the recap this morning, we were still waiting on the outcome of 13 of them, because the market just did nothing overnight. So that gave us 5 actionable alerts, of which 1 or 20% would have been stopped out based on simple market structure and the simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Now, whether you trade them or not, the purpose of the Logic 247 alerts is to teach you how to read a chart. You're going to learn how to trade for a living. You're going to have to learn how to read a chart. There's no word. I know you can all read because you were taught to sound out words. But when you look at a chart, guess what? There is no words. No sentences, no paragraphs, no punctuation. So you got to learn a whole new language. You got to understand how price moves, how price flows, where to anticipate resistance, where to anticipate support. And that's what the Logic 247 alerts teach you how to do. The Logic alerts can come out anytime around the clock, 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. Futures trade around the clock. We have traders around the globe. Our day session is their night session, and vice versa. Now, 378 weeks, that's a little over 7 years. But long before we ever had a Logic 247, we had our original alert service, the concierge trade alerts. And they're different. Different how? Well, they're different in a lot of different ways. But for the purpose of this conversation, they don't come out around the clock. They're posted 5 minutes ahead of the Globex Open, as they were last night. But I had said in the discussion group, if we have huge gaps at the open, I will reissue. So the only ones I had to really reissue were the indices. And so, whereas I would typically tell you that last night all of our traders had all of these alerts 5 minutes before the open, they had most of them. But the indices, they had 6 minutes after the open. Okay? The ES, the Dow, the Russell, crude oil, the NQ, gold, and silver. So now we can go to the chart. And this is where we start each and every day. The S&P 500 E-mini futures, the bellwether. Now I want you to take a look at this gap. And this thing is still trying to climb. And we know that futures, historically, the indices, futures, typically close the gap, the Sunday night gap, usually within a few hours. Certainly, most times during that trading session. Sometimes it takes a day or two, but that's unusual. But this is beyond unusual. Now, I was away Friday when we put in this new all-time historic high, so I have not updated that yet. 68.41 and a quarter, but the new all-time historic high is now way up here. 68.93.75. $68.93.75. Come on. All right, that's close enough for now. The high is 93.75. The close back on Friday was 68.25 and a quarter. So from 25 to 91, boom, like that. So we've exceeded the 62% fib extension. There's the 100% fib extension. The green line, of course, is the BBC. Price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green. It's called the BBC. Just stands for bull bear cross. When price crosses below the green line, like it did back, March 4th, we're bearish. And then when price closes above the green line, like it did April 24th, and then confirms like it did on the 25th by opening and closing above the green line, we go from bearish to bullish. Now, I said price always reverts to the mean, and the green line is our mean. And as you can see, the pullback held, the pullback held, the pullback held. Then once we went from bearish to bullish, the pullback held, the pullback held, the pullback held, and it held, and it held. And we should have known strange things were coming, because after this pullback held and this every pullback has held since April 24th. We had a 6-day pullback. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A 6-day pullback that held. Now, why do I say it held? Because every one of those candles is physically touching the BBC, the green line. Okay, then on the 20th of October, we ran into resistance at the 50% fib extension. And on the following day, on the 22nd, it pushed us back down to the BBC, and as you can see, the pullback held again. And then we closed up here Friday, right at the 62% fib extension. See that? We spiked it a little bit, see the wick, but we closed well off the high of the day, which makes this gap higher open even that much more unusual. Had we closed at the high of the day on Friday, this would have made a little more sense. But I'm telling you right now, after many years of staring at these charts, this makes no sense. Oh, did I mention the government is shut down? The Federal Reserve can't even determine, how much to yank our chain or unyank it because they can't get to the data because the government's shut down. So what do we get? A runaway market? Things like this do not, there's never been anything like this, but things similar to this, they never end well. So I'm no doomsday prophet. But here's an idea. Now all 30-minute, all alerts, Logic 247, and the concierge trade alerts are created on the 30-minute chart. The vertical line that you see separates today, Monday, which began last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Here's Friday, okay, Thursday. You get the idea. Now, these are last week's zones because the new weekly trading zones come out Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. So all alerts that go out on a Sunday night are based on last week's zones. Tomorrow on this broadcast, you'll see this week's zones on my chart. Any alert I put out today will be based on the new weekly zones. But everything prior to 6:15 a.m. Eastern this morning, last week's zones. After 6:15 a.m. Eastern this morning, this week's zones. So the long target was 69.07. Notice the huge gap. Okay, you just saw it on the daily. Now you're looking at it on the 30-minute. See the gap? Okay, this is where we closed Friday, well off the high of the day, with red and falling overhead, which is why this makes no sense at all. But the pullback to the BBC held, and it held, and it held, and it held, and price is still trying to reach that long target. That's not much of a market, guys. Same thing on the Dow. Big gap higher open, doji, pullback to the BBC, the pullback held. We've not hit a short target or a long target. The Russell, gap higher open, pull back to the BBC. It held for a while. But then remember I told you that Russell was the weakest of the bunch when I gave you the numbers from around the world. And as you can see, we managed to trade through the BBC. Okay. Did we close the gap? Nope. Nope. We need to get down here to close the gap. Now, notice the step line, the black step line on the way down. Black step line is on the left side of red and falling, right? But notice what's happening right now with the black step line. It's starting to curve to the right. If price continues to consolidate sideways, that black step line is going to cross red and falling, and it'll be on the right side. Just like up here. You see on the way up, you had the step line on the left side of blue and climbing, but then the step line crossed over to the right side. And what happened? Price pulled back to the BBC. So if the step line crosses to the right side of red and falling, what should you expect? A retracement to the BBC. It's pretty simple. Okay. BNQ, gap higher open. And because of that tech news I read you from Qualcomm and the others, it actually managed to find its long target. Now, again, this is a target that was issued 6 minutes after the open. Okay, so plenty of opportunity to get your goal for the day and beyond. And it's still trying to climb, which makes absolutely no sense. But it doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. You got to trade whatever the market hands you. Crude oil. Now, crude oil, I did not have to reissue on those. It was only the indices. We did have a gap higher open last night on crude oil. The gap has closed as per normal. We came just shy of the long target. We got to 62.17. We missed it by 3 ticks. Okay. At the open was 61.82. We'll call it 61.85. So that's about $300 per contract traded. Then we pull back to the BBC and we actually trade through it. And then on the pullback holds. And so then we get another leg, right? It takes us right down to this area here, where red turns to blue. That's where you should be expecting support, if you know how to read a chart. Okay, so you get a double bottom here. That sends price up, and it's unable to take out these highs from earlier in the session. That's a sign of weakness. So what do you expect? Lower prices. So we get back below the BBC again, and then we get a retracement to the BBC. It holds, and down we go, and we hit the short target. Short target was based on this area right here. See where the black step line had gotten on the right side of blue and climbing, and then it switched back to the left side? Look at the horizontal line on my cursor, the red line. See it? Right there. This is what I mean when I say market structure, understanding how to read the chart, identifying important prices, important areas, which are almost always tested. We dropped a little bit further, okay? Buyers came in, bought it up, and we get on the north side. See, when you got a lot of blue and climbing chasing price, that's a good indication that price may trade through, and it did. And then after we got a leg and a retracement, the pullback held right here. And then we get a leg and a retracement, and so far that pullback has held. Gold, right here's the open last night. We hit the zone, consolidated. When we hit a weekly trading zone, only one of three things happens. 70% of the times consolidation, 20% of the times rejection, 10% of the time the slice. So we come down to the zone, we consolidate, we pull up to the BBC, the pullback holds. That sends us down to red and falling. When red and falling gets directly below price, it can become support. And it looks like we did almost. What was the low? 4065.8. So we missed by 8 ticks. Okay. This candle opened at 4082. 4082 and dropped to 4060. Call it 4070. $1,200 per contract traded in that candle. And then we pull back to the BBC, pull back holds, sends us back to the short target. Okay, now this low here is based off this. Now to reconcile these lows, you're going to have to scroll way back, and I'm not going to scroll that far back. But the answer to your question is there. Just got to go look for it. The step line is attempting to cross red and falling. Okay, you can see it crossed here, and you got to pull back, right? Now, when you trade through a short or long CTA target, quite often on the retracement, the underside of a short CTA or the top side of a long CTA can become, in this case, it would become support. In this case, it became resistance, which gave us a leg down. Now the step line's crossing red and falling and attempting its retracement back to the BBC. Okay. So we got one market left, silver. We will cover that when I come back. See, the step line's already crossed. Price, we'll see if by the time Michael's done, if it has made it all the way back to the BBC, and then it becomes a question of will the pullback hold or not. So, Michael, if you are ready.
Right. I am ready. Bring it over. Here we go. There it is. You should be looking at my stuff now.
Yep, looks good.
Excellent. All right, let me bring up the question box in case anybody happens to ask a question. Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, the 27th day of October, 2025. Wow, 27th day. All right, now, if you have not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button right there. There is no credit card required for this trial. Just click on that purple button. When you do, you are going to be brought to, well, let's just do it. This page right here. On this page, all that we ask for is your name, your email, and your phone number. Down at the bottom gives you TradingView login ID. All right. If you don't have one, go here and get one. Now, we had one of our fellows this morning who was on the trial, who took the trial about 10 years ago, and came back to take it again. He has the basic TradingView. Now, let me just click on this, and that's not exactly what I wanted to go to. Hang on, let's not go to that. He has the basic TradingView, so let me show you what I mean to go to this time. Go here, explore our plans. All right, so this is what the monthly cost looks like for the Essential. All right, the Essential gives you two charts that you can use, 5 indicators per chart, and you have price alerts, technical alerts, you have no ads, and the big deal is custom time frames, right? Because we use range bars and we use custom range bars. So right there it says custom range bars. That's the big deal. Now, it's $14.95 a month if you pay for it monthly, but the first 30 days are free if you haven't gotten it yet. The first 30 days are free. The other thing is to get real-time data. Now, the real-time data with this is $7 a month. If you get the full CME package, it's like $2 a month if you get just the CME only. But if you get the whole package, it's $7 a month. So for either $17 or $22, you have all the charts you need with all the stuff that you need to do everything that we do in the room in the morning. Now, the alternative is to go with the free version of TradingView, which is the basic. With the basic, you only get one chart. You only get 2 indicators. You don't get any custom timeframes, any custom range bars, and the real-time data. The charts are free. You get a lesser version of the free charts, but you get a lesser version of these charts, much lesser version. The charts are free, but the data is now $30 a month. So to get real-time data for the free charts, it's $30 a month. If you pay the $14.95 for the Essential, where you get more stuff, and the $7 for the data, where you get more stuff, then you get everything for $8 less. So this is the way to go. Especially with this, you can get 30 days for free. All right. Just wanted to point that out because, well, I need to do it this morning, so obviously it needs to be said every now and then. Now, today's results. We had pretty good results today, guys. We did have 8 stop outs. I mean, we're under 80% today as far as trades that were break even or better. We were at 78.9% today. And trades that were break even or better, but we still had pretty good results. The YM had my number today. I think out of the 8 stop outs, half of them are on the YM. I never made it to positive numbers on the YM. We had a couple on the NQ and on the YM, and I think we had a couple on gold too. I think that's how it panned out. We had 2 here, and 4 there. Anyway, if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you have to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 27th day of October 2025. Made 80 ticks on the NQ, minus 28 on the YM. Now, on the NQ, our high of the day was 101 ticks. On the YM, our high of the day was minus 15 ticks. Our low of the day on the M was minus 40, though, so we're not at the high or the low on the YM. We're off the high by a little bit here on the NQ, about 2.5 stop outs, or 1.5 stop outs. On the gold, we are at the high of the day on the gold, I think. Yeah, 89. That is the high of the day on gold. We are at the high of the day on gold, and I believe that yes, we are also, on the yes, we're also at the high of the day. So it was a good morning. We had some pretty good trading today. It took 2 minutes and 1 trade. 2 minutes and 1 trade to get to the goal for the day, and we took a total of 38 trades this morning. So of the 38, we had 8 stop outs. That puts us at 78.9% over break even or better this morning. On the month, we're at $21,517 over 18 trading days, averaging $1,195 per contract per 2-hour trading day. On the year now, we're at $223,435. That's 486 trading days, averaging $1,201 per contract per 2-hour trading day. I was happy to get it back over $1,200 today. The 24/20 blueprint, we are now at 26.06 hours on the year. That's if you quit trading when you get the goal for the day. That means you stop trading, you just walk away and do something else when you get the goal for the day. Take your money and run. If you added 1 contract per month and did everything exactly like I did in the room in the morning, you'd be up a gross of $171,257, a net using my commission of $162,922. That's the net. Be averaging a gross of $6,569 per hour. Okay. All right, then. Let's go to what we actually did. Be in here. Now we'll start out with the gold. Let me just do control back because gold had 1 million bars this morning. It was all over the place. It had a spread. It's got like a 1-tick spread right now. At times today it was worse, but it did get kind of normal in the pre-market particularly. But it did get kind of normal after a while. And so it was jumping all over the place, and I traded when I could. It was pretty quick though to give you profit or stop you out. Me. I didn't have any trades that lasted a long time in gold today. My first trade was right here. We picked up 10 ticks on that one. And I believe that's where we got the goal for the day on that very first trade. And then the next trade we took, it looks like a whole bunch of bars, but it was only a few minutes later. It was over here. And we picked up 24 ticks on that one. Then here we got another 5 to get us to 39. And then we had a stop out somewhere in here. I know it looks like a whole bunch of bars, but look at all these gaps in here. Looks like a whole bunch of... There, we stopped out on this one. Now, that was a mistake. I should have had my stop at break even on that. And it barely pulled back enough to stop me out. So I had a horrible fill. I must have had a fill up here because it went back just enough to stop me out, and then it ran out. So we stopped out there, and that brought us down to 24. And we picked up 20 ticks right there, brought us back up to 44. And then we had a 5 tick that got us to 49, then a 20 tick that got us to 69. And then we stopped out again. Somewhere in there we stopped out again, and that brought us down to 54. And then we had a 10 tick to 64 and a 25 tick to 89 and break even. And that was it. That was it for the morning session. So we ended with 89. Okay. In here somewhere there was a stop out that I didn't put a red arrow on, but we really did get a stop out in there. I'm not gonna go through everything that happened during the break, but I'm sure there were a bunch of trades here during the break. But with it bouncing around as crazy it was, you'd have to be trading just gold for the most part. Your attention, you'd have to really focus on it. That's what I'm trying to say. You really have to be focused. There were a couple of trades in here that worked out, long trades. There's one there that would have worked out. And that's it. So on gold, we ended up with plus 89 ticks this morning. Okay. The YM kicked my butt from the beginning. We did have some positive trades there toward the end, but at the beginning, here it was. Our very first trade on the YM, I stopped out. Now, I probably should have had my stop at break even on that, so that was probably my fault. But I stopped out. Now, it's automated to go to break even, so it was my fault that I entered in the wrong place. Okay, so that's how it became my fault, because I don't manually move the stop to break even. It goes automatically. Then we had a break even there. Then we stopped out again, and that put us at minus 30. It picked up 5, got to minus 25, then stopped out again to minus 40, and that was our low of the day on the YM right there. Then we started to gain some back here. We went from minus 40 to minus 39, minus 29, then minus 28, and that was it. That was it. That's where we ended right there, the minus 28. Let's see, was there anything in here that was tradable? No, there was nothing else in there. It was a valid trade during the break. And that was it on the YM. So we finished the YM with minus 28. Minus 28. Now the ES, you can see the whole ES right here in one screenshot, right there. That was our whole morning in one screenshot right there. So on the ES, our first trade here, we picked up 8 ticks, then went to 9, then we went to 16, then 18, then 24, and there was one more where we went to 25. We ended up with 25 ticks on the ES. And during the break, it did not have a trade there. It did have one there. That was a trade. And over here, and up close on this would be a trade right now on the ES. Okay, so get ready for that. The ES is pretty close to the high of the day. This is the high of the day right here on the ES. Now looking out here, if you take a look out here, you will see the ES at the high of the day. This is the gap. I'm sure Dwayne talked about that gap. It's a huge gap. It's like a 40-point gap or something like that. From the close at 26.50 to the open at 8.80. That's even bigger than that. It's like a really big gap. Right, we're still looking for the up close here on the ES, but the NQ, a down close on the NQ will be a trade also. A down close on the gold will also be a trade, right? So there are 3 potential trades going on here right now. There's a down close on the gold. So I'm shorting the gold. There's that one. We need the up close on the ES and the down close on the NQ. Now, this, how big was that gap? 26 up to 80, right? It's 54 points. It's a 54-point gap. That's a huge gap. Anyway, that's what happened there. And if we go out here, oops, I just lost my thing. Go out here, look at this guy putting in new highs right now. It's all the way up to 269.55. And that gapped up too. Interesting. Now, crypto does not necessarily fill the gaps. I'm going to go back here to a 4 and go find my gold dumb. Hold on a second here. It will be out here. Why am here? It is. Okay. So we were short on the gold, and what happened? It went to break even over here. It went to break even. It came back and took me out of break even. That's what happened when my dom disappeared. It didn't go back enough to stop me out, so it had to have gone to break even right here and come back and take me out of break even. Okay, so now we're still looking for an ES trade here. We need the up close on the ES, and we need a down close over here on the NQ. Those are the 2 trades that we're looking for right now. Okay, and let me just go check on that gold. Oh, I just got that. What the heck? That didn't. Oh, I actually got 2 ticks in profit on the gold. I think I'm looking at the right thing. Do we sell 13.3? 13.5. We bought back at 13.3. That's what it was. Okay. Well, you didn't get to see it, so we'll just not concern ourselves with it. The ES, we're still looking for the up close to give us a trade here. The NQ, we're still looking for a down close to give us a trade there. Okay, there's the ES. So we're in the ES right now on the up close, and we need the down close over here on the NQ. Now, the top of the bar on the NQ is at 10. It's a little higher than 10. It's at 10.50. So we're selling 5.50 right now on the NQ. So we're in the ES and we're waiting to get into the NQ. Now the gold did go full cycle here, so if it gets an up close on this bar and a down close on the next one, it will be an actual trade. All right, we didn't get the up close and the down close. That did not happen. So we're long the ES. All right, we're not in the NQ yet. Bob Z. Hey, I haven't seen you in a long time, man. All right. Still no trade here on the NQ. We're still waiting for the ES to do something. And the gold almost has another trade. The YM doesn't have anything here yet. Okay. So we'll just set these here. And 1050. So 550 is still what we're looking at on the down close. If it goes up above 1050, like I think it just did, 1150, then 650 is what we're looking at. Okay. I was talking to you because I hadn't seen your name in here in a very long time. Pseudonym. Nothing. All right, we're in the NQ now. And that has not gone enough. The stop will go to break even automatically on that when it's time. The gold did not turn into a trade. The YM is not a trade. And the ES we're in, and it's not looking so good yet. And gold is still not a trade. It's going to go full cycle over there. Okay, YM needs to push down. Once it goes to 10 ticks in profit, it'll bump to break even plus a tick. You'll see it bump. There it is, break even plus a tick. Now I will lock in 4 on that. Lock in 8 on that. Not with 8 on the NQ, but it looks like I might lose 10 over here on the ES. Hasn't come around to it yet, but we'll see. Okay, so far in the session, we got a couple of ticks on gold. We got 8 ticks over here on the NQ. And the ES is very near stopping out right now for a minus 10 in this session so far. Now, for what it's worth, these have been profitable sessions for the most part. These 1 to 130 sessions. If you just waited all day and traded with me in this half an hour, most of the time you do all right. And this is the free part. But you'd have to listen to the words I say, because I'll say things like, okay, we're going to have a trade over here on an up close. We're going to have a trade over here on the down close. There's going to be no trade here on the ES, and it's like no trade here on the. It's going to be, it'll take like 5 bars to create a trade here on the YM, because we need 2 to get us up into the overbought. So an up close on this one, then goes on the next one, that's 2 bars, but then you're still a long way away from the midpoint. You need 2 more to get up to the midpoint, and then you need 1 to come out of the overbought. Okay, what's likely to happen here? We stopped that on these. What's likely to happen here with the YM is we're going to come out of the oversold here, and it's going to reset the midpoint. Or I go back into the overbought and come out and reset the midpoint. So we need that to get up, that to get up. Are you kidding? My mic? No, my mic was off this whole time. I was talking through that whole thing. Really? How long was my mic off? Bob Z, the last one that I was talking to. Do you even hear me respond? I was walking through it all. I said I didn't get that because I was talking about that. I didn't put that on. If you did get that, you would have bumped to the stop to break even immediately. I stopped out on the ES trade. I don't think we took any YM trades in this session, did we? I don't think so. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry about that. I really was talking that whole time. I was walking you through the trades as they were coming. I was seeing that this one ended up being one tick above, but I left my order on and it filled me anyway. This is going to be a trade here on a down close on gold right now. So get your order ready in case it does the same thing it did the last time. Now, if it goes up, it's too high. It's not going to be a trade. Cancel, cancel. It went up and it hit the YBR and flipped it. And so that didn't end up being a trade there. And my mic was off. I was making fun of Bob Z. Just kidding. You know, when I go downstairs and my home health aide starts talking, I hope for silence. She's nice and sweet, but boy, she just talks and talks and talks. And usually I'm going down there to do some work. Got something to do. Got another computer. That's where my laptop resides most of the time. Do a lot of creative things there. Ding. I got the goal for the day early today. Nothing. All right, we could have something over here on the NQ. We need a down close on the NQ now. And that will be a trade. Down close over here on the NQ. Make sure that makes sense. It is. Okay. The gold could happen too. It have to be pretty fast, but it could happen. But we have 3 minutes left, and I think the NQ is the most likely thing we're going to have an entry and probably a run to target or stop on in the next 3 minutes anyway. Donald I. He was still looking for the down close. It's 5 points from the top of the bar. Okay, the top of the bar is at 350. So this should be at 850. And I think the top of the bar just went up. So I just leave it right where it is at 875. Yeah, it's at 375 now to 875. If the top goes up any more, then we'll have to bump our order up and just to go up one more tick. .5 points from the top of the bar. Oops. There. 5 points on the top of the bar. Now I know this ahead of time because these are 19 range bars. So 5 points is 20 ticks. 19 would be right here where the bottom of the bar is going to be, and 20 is right there where my order is waiting to get filled. We could have something on the YM too. And they have a minute and a half left. I was hoping the NQ was going to be the thing that did it. Wow, Macy's all the way to her apartment. All the way up to her. Almost there on the NQ. We're almost there. You have 30 seconds left. See if we trigger into this. This is not a trade here on gold. And there we are. We're in it on the NQ. Okay, now it has a 25 tick stop right there. And a 45 tick target right there. Stop goes to break even plus a tick after 10 ticks in profit automatically. Okay, so we just let it play out. See how it goes. There's a little bit of activity in the markets right now. The YM's pulling back pretty quick. The ES has got nothing, and the gold Made a pretty big move up. It could pull back and give us a trade over there while we're waiting for the NQ to finish up here. It could happen. Hasn't happened yet, but it still could happen. All right, there it is, almost on the gold. Now the gold is too far away. Cancel, cancel, cancel. I meant to cancel, cancel, cancel. Okay, I gotta cancel. Gold's too far away from the midpoint. Okay, and there goes the NQ in the right direction finally. Hasn't gone enough yet. A bit more, there it is. I've just bumped to break even plus a tick. And I'm gonna lock in 4 ticks on that. It's got a 45 tick target on it. So we'll see where it goes from here. The swing low is right here at 891. It's down here. This is the swing low. Give it a chance. And we're out with 4 ticks. All right. Well, it looks like that's how we're going to wrap it up for the session, guys. We had 1 stop out and I think 5 trades that actually made money. If you have not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com. Click on this button right here. No credit card required for the trial. That's going to bring you to the registration page. Just fill it out. Make sure you give us a TradingView login ID right there. Okay. And that is it. With that, we can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne is ready.
Yep. I am ready.
Excellent. You sound nice
Okay.
and rested.
recap of the morning session.
Today it took 2 minutes and 1 trade to get to $1,000. 10 contracts.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Guys, if you tuned in late, this is one last look at the daily. We closed off the high on Friday. Closed off the high of the day, right at the 62% fib extension. Had we closed at the high of the session Friday, last night's huge gap open would have made a little more sense. The fact that we didn't, this does not end well. Just sorry, I'm not a doomsday prophet, but I'm telling you, it doesn't end well. So, okay, the last market that we have not covered yet, silver. Right here, this was the opening candle last night. Got a leg and a retracement, the pullback held, a leg and a retracement. We actually had a candle open and close above the BBC, and that's typically an indication higher prices are coming, but we didn't take out this high here. And then we go right back below the BBC. We hit the short target, which was based off this right here from Friday. We consolidated for a bit, dropped to the weekly trading zone where we consolidated as we do 70% of the time. And then price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green. It's called the BBC. Pullback held. And we get another deep leg to the downside. And when we looked it over right before Mike took the screens, step line had crossed, and so we said the next order of business would be for price to retrace to the BBC. Then the question becomes, does the pullback hold or not? We haven't even gotten to the BBC yet. So, one last look at the daily. I don't think anyone has ever seen anything that looks anything remotely like that, especially against the backdrop that we have with the government shutdown, geopolitical tension like we've never seen, Russia launching their new missile, testing it. They're calling it the Flying Chernobyl. This thing has a nuclear engine. They say that it can fly for days. And Putin, I think he's just crazy enough to pull the trigger. So, if you don't have your heart right with God, I suggest you get it there. To become a member, send an email to Valerie, support@cfrn.net. Let her know you want to become a member, and she'll send you via email all the information you need to get signed up. Once you're all signed up, she'll send you a couple of emails. It'll be chock full of information you don't even know what to do with. You don't know what it is. Don't ignore it. Create a folder in your email client, and every email Valerie ever sends you, just put it in that folder. Put it in that folder. Okay? Drag and drop. Drag and drop. Because there'll come a time during your learning journey when you'll need some of that very important information she sent you. And if it's the middle of the night or the middle of a weekend or a holiday, we might not be around. But the good news is you have everything you need in that welcome package that she sent you. How do I know? Because we've sent out thousands of those packages, and we know everything everybody needs. So you can say, I don't have it, but trust me, you do. You just don't know where it is. So if you do what I just said, you'll be squared away. Okay? All right. Once you become a member, you're going to get 2 hours of live training every trading day. It's an interactive environment. On top of 2 hours of live training every day, you have access to private one-on-one mentoring. All you got to do is ask. The strategy you learn, the indicators you own as a passport holder are fluid across all markets and all time frames. If you've been watching this going, man, those guys trade futures. I sure wish their stuff would work for stocks or crypto or Forex or ETFs. Well, guess what? It does. You don't have to change a thing. Why? Because price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. From support, resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over again and again. It's a never-ending cycle. Now, you might say, well, no one knows where support or resistance is going to be until after the fact. You would be right. No one knows what's going to happen next in the market. Any market. It's not possible. Too many factors. However, once you learn to read the charts and you learn to read our very humble set of indicators, you can know with a great deal of certainty what the next high probability move is and where the market is most likely to find resistance and support. How can I make such a bold claim? Because for over 7 years now, we've issued over 20,800 individual handcrafted Logic 247 alerts. Every one of them has an entry price, long or short, an initial target designed to help you get your goal for the day. In most cases, additional targets, and then a final trade to target, which is always a weekly trading zone. Now, the purpose of those logic alerts, yeah, you can trade them, but I encourage you to use them for the purpose created, to help you learn how to read a chart. And accept the fact that 20% of the time or less, where you thought there was going to be support and where you thought there was going to be resistance, 20% of the time or less, it's not going to be correct. Because no one knows what's going to happen next. But again, we're not talking about a 2-week study with 100 trades. We're talking about over 7 years, over 20,800 alerts. We've averaged on a weekly basis 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based on simple market structure. And to understand simple market structure, you got to be able to read the chart, which is the purpose of the Logic 247 alerts. And as a member, you will get them around the clock. And you too will learn to read a chart. You'll also get the concierge trade alerts every evening the second they're published, typically 5 minutes ahead of the Globex Open. Tonight, or this afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern, that will be the end of the Monday session, which began last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern will be the beginning of the Tuesday session. Now, I said earlier the table is set for one of the biggest turnaround Tuesdays you've ever seen. But something's moving this market that I'll be honest with you, don't understand. Now, we've got a Fed announcement on Wednesday. So if that huge gap open last night is based on the fact that the Fed is going to lower interest rates by a 1/4 percentage point, this thing is going to fold like a duck in teal season on Wednesday. It doesn't drop tomorrow, and just wait till Wednesday. Now, Jerome may come out and say, you know what, because the government shut down, we weren't having enough data, so we can't really do anything. Now, that's not what the street is expecting. The street is expecting a 1/4 percentage point, which in the grand scheme of things is, well, it's like nothing. Interest rates should be based on the data, not on politics, not on opinions, but on the data, based on the data. Fed interest rates should be 2 percentage points lower than where they are right now. Now, this is based on historical data going all the way back to the formation of the creature from Jekyll Isle. If you haven't read that book, you should. Then you can have sleepless nights like me. As a passport holder, you're also going to get the weekly trading zones every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. We've published the zones now for over 15.5 years. This December 14th, coming up, will make 16 years that we have delivered the weekly trading zones to our members every single Monday. Once they come out at 6:15 a.m. Eastern Monday morning, they are carved in stone for the entire week. They don't change in any way whatsoever. Last but not least, you'll get the golden keys to all the private channels in Telegram. Everything a trader needs, all under one roof. One low price. How low? $5,000. $49.97 to be exact. Unless you're a veteran, and then we give you a discount to thank you for your service. Now, when you look back over your own personal history and all the time and treasure you've spent trying to learn how to trade, it's probably a mere pittance. So if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired and finally want to just learn how to trade and have somebody there to help you every step of the way, day in and day out, email Valerie, support@cfrn.net. Just let her know you're ready to become a trader. And she'll take good care of you. All right, good word for the day. Encourage someone today. Isaiah 35:3. Strengthen those who have tired hands. Encourage those who have weak knees. Say to those with fearful hearts, be strong and do not fear. Every one of us needs encouragement, support that inspires confidence and a will to continue. The words we speak can either build up or tear down the people around us. Author Rebecca Barlow Jordan writes, "One of the first questions I like to ask Jesus when I wake up each morning is, how can I encourage someone today, and who?" He's always faithful to answer, even through his word. One morning after asking that question, I read Isaiah 35:3 and found a practical answer. First, strengthen those who have tired hands. That might include teachers, hairstylists, mothers, writers, missionaries, pastors, and parents. Next, the passage mentions encouraging those who have weak knees. I envision grandparents and senior citizens, veterans, and even athletes with wear and tear on their bodies. But the last category, the fearful, could probably include everyone. These needed to hear the words, "Be strong and do not fear." For me, finding people to encourage, it's not a problem. Remembering to listen and follow through with Jesus' answer is where I need work. And the amazing thing is, when I try to lift up someone else, I'm the one who ends up encouraged. So ask Jesus to help you encourage someone today. Invite him to speak through you and be prepared for his answers. Paul said in Galatians 6:10, "Be mindful to be a blessing, especially to those of the household of faith." As you fill your mind thinking of ways to strengthen the faith of others, you will be amazed by how much you get energized and blessed in the process. And that's our good word for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with his mercy and with his grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.